Hey there, and welcome to Be Unmessablewith the podcast. I'm your host, Josselyne Herman-Saccio, and today my guest is a dear friend and an artist and actor named Taimak. You may know him from the cult classic The Last Dragon, where he played Bruce Leroy, which is the Bruce Lee character. It was a comedy, but it is a cult classic, and it's almost 40 years that role has been impacting young people and all people alike. At 18, when he won the kickboxing New York State Championship, after that is when he got cast in the movie at the age of 19 by Berry Gordy, who is obviously a music mogul and Motown legend. He was a martial arts choreographer. He had the honor of being inducted into the Martial Arts Hall of Fame in 2010. His autobiography is available on Amazon, Taimak, The Last Dragon. And, he's been dealing for many years with spinal injuries, which really could have messed with him to the point of taking him out of the game, but it didn't. He is truly unmessable with, one of the most disciplined human beings that I have had the honor to know. And I'm so happy that he said yes to my invitation to being on the show. So please welcome my friend and my guest, Taima.
Great.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hey, it's been a while, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Pandemics can make people disappear, huh?
It is true. It is true. But I'm so happy to see your mug, to see your face, and to see that you're doing well. And
Yeah,
I
you
just
too. You look great.
yeah, thanks. I feel good. I feel good. Living my dream. So why not, right?
Mm, definitely.
So, tell our audience a little bit about how you got into the entertainment industry, because not everybody ends up in the entertainment industry, and you've been in it for decades. So, what inspired you to seek out that kind of a life?
Well, I wouldn't say I've been in it for decades. I could say I've been an actor for decades. I could
That's well,
say
yes, that's true. Touche.
I could say that I've well, what was the end of what you said?
What inspired you to get into the life of an actor, an artist?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, very young, I'd say anywhere between 7 and 8, maybe even earlier. I was a comic book fanatic. I collected comic books and from from Archie to Batman, all of it. And my mother had to toss all the comic books out because I took my clothes out, put them on the floor, and I had my whole dresser with all the comic books and everything like that. So that was my life, and then I watched uh, Batman and Superman and Spider Man when I got out of school. So I wasn't obviously an academic. It wasn't about the homework. It was like, let's watch this, let's watch that, let's read this comic, read that comic book. Uh, and then I had some tough times dealing with that physical abuse and stuff like that. And my brother was bullying me, my mother was beating my butt, and so it was like the babysitter. So I was dealing with a lot of stuff that I didn't even understand the levity of what it was, how it was to impact me, or I didn't even understand the depth of this really into looking into deep until I went to Landmark, and that's where I met you. And then I was reading books before Landmark, but that was more. It was great to read books, but I think the application of yourself and that kind of format of Landmark education was good. It made me think about behavior and put that into an action. So the inspiration uh, for acting really came out of the situation, my circumstance I was in. I wanted to become a superhero. I wanted
Mm.
to uh, I wanted to be able to, just be free. I just ended up doing martial arts since I was little, and that was kind of the avenue.
Yeah, and martial arts, my husband does, obviously not like you, but my husband does mixed martial arts, and the discipline it takes is always so inspiring to me. So as a young child, getting into martial arts, how did that impact you as a person, not just as an athlete?
Well, I think the biggest thing is when it comes to discipline, I don't have to think about discipline because it's already ingrained in me. Um, I started. I meditated years ago, but I never found a specific technique that I really resonated with. And not too long ago, I started doing some of Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations. Those he's brilliant at bringing all these ancient principles and different modalities of science and neuroplasticity, epigenetics, and so forth. And he articulates it so clear. It resonated with me, so I've been doing a lot of that lately. You know.
And what has that brought to your life in terms of a dimension? And I know it does take discipline to meditate in the way that it's designed to be done. Some people just dabble in it, but in his work, there's some intense, like 30-day I mean, like intense, like you're just meditating for that amount of time. What has that added to your life dimensionally?
Well, I haven't done it more than 2 or 3 months. I just started with some of the simple meditations, but when you get involved, obviously, that's when maybe you don't have to go to a retreat, but you can do it all at home. I think what meditation on its own is healthy. You know, if you just close your eyes and take in deep breaths in a quiet space where you feel comfortable, and sit up straight, and let your thoughts kind of walk away like clouds, and you just focus on your breath. You can empty your mind of all the different. I mean, it's really healthy. So just on its own, so you don't need anything but yourself. Uh, then you add something like a Joe Dispenza, right? And the depth of knowledge there. Um, it takes a lot of discipline.
Mm.
It takes a lot of discipline because your mind and body will be screaming to hold on to old ways, and then uh, the technique really is to have them just dissipate and reorganize into a new self, into a new life. So
Yeah.
that's what I've taken from just a few months of starting to get involved in what he's.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's beautiful. Everybody that I speak to that works with him, it's completely life altering. Like it just shifts the direction of their life, including Oz Garcia, who I had interviewed for the show a number of months ago. And he just came back from like a 30-day retreat with him, but
30
he
days.
thought,
I
yes,
didn't think he did. I think he only does 10 and 1 week and 10 days. I
I
never heard
don't
of it.
know. He said on his thing he was 30 days, but he said that he
Really?
always thought he was a good meditator. I'll have to check it back, but he said I always thought I was a good meditator until I started working with.
Yeah, I don't think he does 30 days, Jazz.
I'll look. It sound 30 minutes sounds like 30 days to me. So it's like dog years when it goes into my undisciplined ears, right?
Yeah, no, but yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the way it came into my life, I had some, we talked about the spinal injuries, and
Yes.
on my own, well, surgery is just not an option to the spine. Some of the worst uh, surgeries are on the spine, and it's still kind of experimental spinal surgeries. They do them like crazy. There's a lot of money being made there, so I just didn't trust it intuitively, and just didn't trust it. There may be some people that might have success, but there's so many people who don't. So I started to just go on the rabbit hole. I wasn't experiencing strength in my legs, my hands, and all these things for many years. And about about maybe 10 months ago, I met a great chiropractor slash physical therapist who was a champion wrestler in college and high school and stuff like that. And he had similar problems, and he was in chiropractic school, and he was able to fix himself. So I said, Dr. Stephen Murphy in Freehold, New Jersey, and I said, let me work with him. And he really dug in, and he gave his all and helped me quite a bit. And then it was just too far out. It was an hour and a half away. So
Mm.
I was going twice a week. So I looked for a acupuncturist in my area, and I fell upon Dr. Philip Trigiani, and it's only a few blocks on the Upper West Side over here in Manhattan. And he's been a lot of fun. I call him the rock and roll healer because he plays guitar. He's got a great spirit, and who he is definitely healing. I remember one time he said, I said, "How'd you get into this?" He said, "Oh, this is just fun." And I said, "Oh, wow, okay." So it told me, and that's kind of what he gives when you're there. You're doing, yeah, he's doing the acupuncture and this, but who he is as a person, right? You go into a hospital, most doctors you meet doesn't sound like fun, right?
No, definitely not.
They become like almost a reflection of how you feel, which you can feel awful and they feel awful, but it doesn't seem like there's as much empathy there. But um, not to down all doctors, I'm just saying, I know I'm going off on this healing journey, but um,
Well, that's what you've been dealing with, which is a perfect segue into what I wanted to ask you anyway. Given this is called Be Unmessable With, I always ask about a situation that you were dealing with or that you can recall that was so difficult, like the kind of circumstances that could take somebody out for the count, but somehow you didn't get taken out and you were able to transcend the circumstances and emerge what I call being unmessable with, which, as you know, doesn't mean being tough. It means being able to stay true to your vision and your heart and your dreams. So, what comes to mind when you
yeah,
think about that?
yeah. I'm definitely not messable with. I mean, I've dealt with so much with um, Hollywood producers and that kind of thing, and yeah, just but where I'm at now is really is really a special place because, as I said before, well, first dealing with that spinal situation for so many years, not being able to get out and about, and being mostly at home, it was, I'm not all the way through the whole thing of it, but I'm getting much better. Um, it definitely changed me. You know. Um, then some situations with family got really difficult. So I kind of I was already isolated, and I had to isolate myself some more just to really heal.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know it was going to be a complete full healing. Like you got the healing of a scratch, you got a healing of a cut, then you have a healing of a spine. It just goes so deep. So I just when that, like I was telling you about the Joe Dispenza, what happened with that was about 2.5, 3 months ago. I was meditating, dealing with some family stuff that was really difficult, and I I wanted to find a different meditation because I was doing my own thing. And I went on YouTube because I saw there was millions of meditations, and this link showed up with Dispenza, and I heard about him. I've run across some of his work many years ago, but uh, this one, I think it was about half an hour commentary on the spirit and this and that. It was like definitely God was talking to me through
Mm.
Dr. Spencer, and I knew that this was something I'm going to have to do. So I dived in, and what it talks about is how your feelings and your thoughts are so interrelated, you know, and unknowingly we're making our feelings facts, you know. So our feelings are our feelings, right? And then our thoughts, that whole thing, that whole network. When he describes how the brain and how the neural connections, it was so fascinating and so real. And
Mm.
then you need you need to be really focused and up for the tasks. If you're a someday type of person, someday I'm gonna, when I get that job, I'll do it. Someday I'll, um, when I get that perfect relationship, when I get that perfect job, yeah, then I'll be ready. Then 20 years go by, and then 30 years go by, and then you're at your dying.
Yeah, well, I always say find someday in your calendar, let me know where it is because I've never found it.
Right, right, and that and I understand because who wants to face or do that kind of work? You know, but to me, there's no way around it. I mean, I just think that that's kind of a thing that one has to start. I mean, you find that integrity within yourself, that special, that alchemist within, then uh, people people believe when they see things. So and the thing about this kind of work is uh, you know it before you see it.
Mm,
That's the trick. You know, look at Muhammad Ali, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa. Look at any of these. You know, you had to have that kind of will, that kind of definite, uh, indecisive. I'm sorry, decisive. Um, yeah, and there's a way to that. You can develop a skill, develop it. It's not like you're born with it all the time.
yeah, it's like a muscle. You
You
can develop it just
can
like.
develop.
And I remember the last time we saw each other, it was before the pandemic, and you were doing like a gyrotonic something, and that was really helping your spine at that time. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, I got certified in gyrotonic. Gyrotonic is another modality of um, healing modality that oh God, Julia Horath, yeah, the name Julia Horath created out of similar circumstances to me. He had a bad injury, really bad. He was a ballet dancer, a Romanian guy that was living in New York, or he moved to New York. But during the injury, he was in the islands trying to just get his head together because his career was over, you know. And all his dancers friends felt so bad, his family, um, his height of his dancing, So he got into meditation, you know, and he was meditating, and like a download, he he got all this information about movement that was unique, and was like a mix of many arts, some that he was pretty well versed in, and some that he wasn't, but yoga, ballet, gymnastics, tai chi, you know, but it just came to him, in a meditation.
Mm,
And he started doing the movements like a cat type of movements of breathing with extending, call it narrowing the spine when you create opposition in your spine, decompressing the spine, and you start the movement. And he healed himself. He healed himself. And people were fascinated, all his friends, and different friends with injuries were healing themselves, and then uh, family members came and can't walk, and all this kind of thing. And he created an apparatus because in the beginning it was no apparatus, just his body. And then he created an apparatus, and then that evolved over time. And today it's all over the world. Gyrotonic is huge around the world. People getting certified. I'm certified. So it helped me, but what I was dealing with was so severe. I needed more, uh, and I had been going back to gyrotonics because there was a curve in the center of the spine. There was compression up high, up low, and really tightness in the body, and the weakness started happening in the grips and the legs. So that's when I went to Dr. Murphy, and then then over here in my area. But ultimately, uh, with Dispenza. It's so funny how full circle, because The Last Dragon was about looking within.
Mm.
It was a comedy, and everybody likes the fun of it, but the message of it was so strong that sticks. I mean, there's a guy throwing a 40th anniversary, which is next year, but he's throwing the party November 9th, the screening of the movie and providing fans. This has been that long. Uh, that's how I was able to pay my bills, actually, because I do appearances around the country,
Yeah.
and it couldn't work, so it was taking care of the bills. Excuse me.
Yeah.
so so yeah, yeah. So this film, I came into the business that way, that it's all in you. The character Bruce Lee, right? Shown enough, only his hands would glow. He was a great fighter, right? But his hands would glow. But to have that real inner understanding, right? That real alchemist, to get to that level, sublime level, your sublime glow all over your body. It's looking within, not looking outside your circumstances to create who you are.
It really
Create,
is like a 40-year full circle, isn't it?
yeah.
Isn't that
So
wild though when you think about it 40 years ago? What's it like to be recognized on the street for that character and to, go to these conventions and have people, I mean, it's a cult classic. It's like people are obsessed with that
yeah,
character.
yeah, yeah. They want me working all the time. I want to be working all the time. Uh, it's interesting because you look at there's what we used to think was a business, and then over the years and the internet and everything, people find out so much about what Hollywood is, and not all of Hollywood, but so much of it is not what it's cracked up to be. And then you realize, well, that's part of the reason, not the whole reason, why you're not working. Um, so uh, it's just interesting. So many fans get upset, and I say, look, I'm on my own path. And things, if I want it, it'll happen. I'm just, I don't use any comparison, so I don't think about Will Smith or this person, that person. Why don't I don't do that,
Probably
because
smart. That's one of the biggest things that messes with people in the work that I do with people. What I discover is comparison is one of the biggest things that will send people south.
yeah, I don't do any of that. No.
But
If
even comparing yourself to an earlier version of yourself.
Well, I have no problem comparing myself for not even, I don't know if the word's comparison. I'll get inspired by other people. That's
Yes.
what's actors, performers. I'm inspired by dozens. So that's how I look at it. But I don't. There's no separation. It's not like you can't achieve something. It's either they put certain work in on their talent or their networking or their promotion or their relationship with their management or, you know, so those are kind of things that people don't think about. They're too busy thinking about the comparison, less about how to achieve what people achieve.
Well, I love what you're saying because it goes so much to, when I coach people on performance, it's all action or inaction, right? That's, a high performance individual is busy taking certain actions and ceasing certain actions that are counterproductive. So, like you say, it's either they're putting the work into the promotion or they're putting the work into their craft. It's like there's actions that they're taking. It's not by some miracle that people are famous or that people have careers that they do. It's from a series of actions or inactions that produces the results. That's what I love about what you're saying.
Yeah, well, the actions are, everybody can make an action, but it's where the action's coming from. you know what's the intention, and that's where it gets real deep.
Yeah.
That's where that's where people think they're intending. The whole thing, uh it gets complicated because some producers don't have good intentions, and some people don't have good intentions, so it's a perfect match. you know. Uh, and then sometimes there might be an imperfect match, or it's, let's say it's a perfect match, and one person, let's say in my case, when I was 19 and getting The Last Dragon, I would definitely say it wasn't a perfect match for the producer because he didn't have good intentions. It was all charlatan. Um, but it was a perfect match in that it takes you on a journey. Now I wasn't prepared for the journey, you know, or maybe I didn't. Maybe I don't think I was. Maybe I could
Yeah,
have.
maybe it was the perfect journey, but
Yeah, well, at the time and thereafter, I didn't see it as a perfect journey, but that was the journey to how to get to a place to see that it was a perfect journey, and then take advantage of that. And that's where I'm at now. And that's what's all that's important, right? Is to 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 know and know yourself well enough to know what you're intending, you know. And if you intend, if you come from unselfish, I know it's difficult in a business because you have to have you write a contract, right? You get to transaction, but I like to go in there with a selfless intention, and that I think that's the difference. I think then the work that you're doing isn't just about the money. Um, and I'm not putting down anybody who does it for money. I mean, they could help a lot of people just on the amount of money they make. Um, but I don't think we own anything. We don't even own our own bodies, really.
hmm,
I think we can honor our bodies, but we don't own it. It could be taken away like that, and anything could be taken away. So So that's just like a rude awakening. And if you look at it that way, you say, okay, if I had $1 billion, right, it's not the money that makes a difference. It's all the people that I'm impacting that makes a difference. And if you took if you had the money but didn't have the relationships, and that's all you had, just the money, it wouldn't be anything.
yeah, it's numbers
You'd
on a
give up
screen.
because the people are the ones that you use in a good way that was able to manifest what you got. And your direction is what made it happen. Your direction, but you needed all those other people to make it happen.
That is
So
for sure. And what do you think? I mean, dealing with your spine for so long, dealing with the kind of physical intensity of recovery that you've been dealing with, what is it that you go to that has you be resilient and keep taking the next action and the next action?
yeah, yeah. So I tell you, fans have been like a big deal because I wouldn't say I was giving up. I was kind of letting go of this whole thing about The Last Dragon. I wasn't feeling my best last year, but I got offered a part in this thriller called Double Cross. There's a scene on my Instagram if you want to see any of the scenes. But
I'll have your Instagram handle in the show notes so people can find you easily.
yeah, yeah. So it was a really, really evil character, the opposite of the Bruce Leroy in The Last Dragon. So um, I did it, and I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish in it, and just playing such a bad kind of character. Um, I lost the question though.
I said, what do you go to be
Oh,
resilient given
yeah,
everything you're dealing with?
yeah. So what happened was on my Facebook, I posted somewhat of a like, let's move on, because the original writer of The Last Dragon and Sony Pictures, the original writer got rights back a few years back, and he would need Sony to make a film or make a TV show, but it wasn't working out. He didn't like what they were offering. They didn't like what he was offering. And he was talking to me, and I was like, "Look, I think you should deal with Sony." And it didn't work out. So I was like, and fans holding on for this for decades. It's like they're like, yeah, the Karate Kid, man, they got a TV show. Why can't you? Oh man, they're just going on and on and on for decades. And after a while, it gets kind of tiring for me to listen to it, is because it's not my internet. I mean, IP. It's not my property. You know, you know, I can't. So anyway, so I wrote that note as a thing. Let's just let's let it go. And they were like, no. 95% were like, no, we're not letting it go.
That's funny.
So I'm like, okay, because it became a family movie. So I got people,
Yeah.
young kid people coming to get autographs, um, because it translates to them. So then I said to myself, there's people making movies like crazy and it doesn't stick. Some of these films don't stick. And here it is, this one film that's sticking this strong. I said, there's got to be a reason for me to be on Earth. There's got to be a reason. So uh, other than helping my mother out paying her bills,
Yeah, really.
uh, what's the reason is continue to perform. And uh, I study, I go to this workshop with Bobby Morosco in New York. And we have a great, great group of talented actors and writers. It's a format where the writers are workshopping their work, and got an Oscar-winning writer. So they really know what they're doing. So the actors are used to develop the writers' work, and the actors get to put up work and be really quick and facile and make great performances and just workshop work in the gym. So I mean, I forgot his name, but there's a movie called Ezra on you can find it. I think it's EZRA. That was workshopped at Bobby Morosco's actor gym. So yeah. So I've just written a story that I didn't go out writing it to be a sequel to The Last Dragon. I wrote a story that I thought just came from my heart, because there was this art gallery I went to with a friend, and it was damn, what's his name? Stefan. Can't remember his last name right now, but the artist is really fantastic. He does amazing work. Anyway, he had portraits of different cultures, and it was so colorful and so beautiful. Uh, and then I turn my head and I see these Shaolin monks upside down, three, and it was very powerful. And I saw a story there, and I was like, "Wow, this is where." Uh, hey, before the Shaolin Temple, Buddha Dharma came from Asia, but India, right? So he came over with his knowledge and taught it in China, and that's how the Shaolin Temple came together. And I said, look at all the rich history there. So, and I grew up being a huge fan of Shaw Brothers Kung Fu films and the Shaolin monks and um, Master Killer, Five Deadly Venoms, and samurai movies. So I started with a story that had me as a kid,
Mm.
and then just started writing, you know, to where it was me as an adult. But I wanted it to be compelling. As I'm writing it, I'm saying, look, people already think I'm Bruce Leroy from The Last Dragon. I don't even have to say it in the movie. So that's what I wrote a few months ago. So now that's what I'll be looking to develop as the months go on. That's where I'm at right now.
Perfect. And I'll definitely have your social media handles in the show notes so people can find you and follow you and keep up to date on all the things that you're doing. But is there anything you want to offer people, either young people in the business or people dealing with a physical challenge, that just advice or something they could use to move from being messable with to being unmessable with in the face of those difficult circumstances?
Yeah. think less of in separation, you know, think less of, you know, we're in a dimension of duality, right? So it's always about up down. It's like a hologram, you know, but it's very real, but it's also an illusion. And until you can get that we're in this dimension of a hologram, which has separation, you, me, up, down, black, white, rich, poor, blah, 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 then you could only have a certain amount of success because you're within that hologram. And when you're able to get connected from the place, well, get to connected to yourself, right? You know, when you're able to go within yourself and think about what's really going on there and to heal that, you know, and it starts now, you know, because it doesn't go away. Your circumstances don't go away. Who you are creates your circumstances. And, you know, the more you make that connection with the people energetically, you feel like here we are with you, Joss. You reach out to me, say you'd like to do an interview. I said, of course, you know. And then here we are. And we just manifested this, you know. So it was a connection. You know, you don't have to connect with everybody, but life is really about connection, you know.
Mm,
And when you are able to honor those connections, uh, you know, pour water into those connections and harness that, you know, it's like you could say like a flower, you know, like a flower. It just, you know, it grows into something beyond your imagination. So yeah.
beautiful, beautiful. And for those of you listening or watching, depending on how you get your podcasts, thanks for tuning in today. And if you got value from any piece of this episode, please share the episode with anyone you think could use it at this point and it would support them in what they're creating in their life. And, you know, feel free to rate and review it, but most of all, share it to make the impact that you can make through the people that you connect with. And thank you so much for being with us and being with me, Ty. I just, you know, I really appreciate our relationship over the past 20, 30 years, however long we've known each other, a long time. And, you know, I hope to hear from you again. We'll have you on when you have your next project that's coming out so we can let people know about it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Thank
Great.
you, Joss. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's just great. All right. See you guys on the next episode of Be Unmessable with the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us in this episode of Be Unmessable with the podcast. And I am so happy that you spent some time with us. And I want to make sure that every time you spend time with us, you get value. So I want to offer you a free workshop on resilience and unmessable withness. So if you click below, Dr. Kathy Connor and I put together this workshop and it's free and it'll give you a world around the difference between resilience and being unmessable with, not only from my perspective, but from a neuroscientist's perspective. So, those of you that love that world of neuroscience, click below and get the workshop for free. See you on the next episode.